Hi people, it's me, Anja. My pronouns all she and her, and welcome back to my channel for a new recent reads video. I mentioned, I believe, at the very beginning of this year that I was going to be more transparent in my recent reads videos, and frankly, I have not been doing that literally at all, but, you know, the year's not over yet. So anyway, the first book on this list is called Margo Zimmerman Gets the Girl. This story is a YA contemporary following a newly out Jewish lesbian main character who enlists her bisexual classmate to help her be queer. Does that make any sense? Anyway, this book was so good and so well done, and I just really enjoyed it so much because it felt so wholesome and so good. And the concept kind of reminded me of the Borrow a Boyfriend Club in the sense of like newly out queer people who are trying to discover and ace and prove to themselves as well as to other people that they are queer, only to find out that you don't have to prove anything to anyone else, much less to yourself, that you are this thing. You know what I mean? Because if you are queer, then you are queer. You know what I mean? You don't have to prove it. You don't have to own it. Anyway, this book was so good. I love the characters, the sapphic romance, the queerness, the plot, the Jewish representation. Everything about this book is so excellent and it's so wholesome. I just really enjoyed every single second of it. So anyway, with that said, I rated this book 4 out of 5 stars, and I would definitely highly recommend it. The next book on this list is called Where Only Storms Glow. This story is a middle grade historical fiction following two siblings who are trying to survive during the Dust Bowl. This story is absolutely so fantastic and it's so excellent. And if I had made an August TBR, this book would have definitely been on it because I love this book so much. And I truly trusted the author so much because I've read 2 of her previous historical fiction books before. Although I believe her 2 previous books were both technically historical fantasy, and this book doesn't have any fantastical elements in it. But anyway, I love the characters and the plot and the setting and the family dynamics and everything about it, like, really humanized the characters and made me really feel like what was happening to them. I've mentioned this so many times before, but in the past in school, whenever I was learning about history, like, the characters and the people of those historical events didn't really come to life because my knowledge of history was based on facts and dates, whereas I think that history being taught to children would be so much more impactful if you really taught them about the people being involved, because aren't we all people living through historical events too? Anyway, this book was so good and so awesome. So anyway, with that said, I rated this book 4 out of 5 stars, and I would definitely highly recommend it. The next book on this list is called We Could Be Rats. This story is an adult contemporary following 2 estranged sisters as they navigate trauma and family secrets. I really enjoyed this book, frankly, and unexpectedly, because I picked up this recommendation from Dalian the Librarian, and she said that this is one of her favorite books from this year so far. And I love Dalian the Librarian, like, as a booktuber, as a friend, like, she's so nice. But our tastes in books, like, usually don't really align. Like, the first book that I really associate with her is Where Dreams Descend, which I think I also read from her recommendation, like, 4 years ago. Anyway, all that to say, I was really surprised when I read this book and really enjoyed it. Although, I would say that the ending felt abrupt for me, which is why I rated it 4 stars and not 5 like she did. But anyway, I will leave her channel in the description box below if you don't know who I'm talking about, because her videos are so good and so well done. And anyway, this book was excellent. I loved the plot and the characters and the sibling relationship, and like reading this book the day my sister moved out of the room that we have shared for the past 20 years was a choice. And it was a good choice because these characters like mean so much to me. I love the sister relationship. There is a trigger warning on this book for like suicide attempts, which I should have mentioned earlier. And I think this book was excellent, and I love the depiction of like mental health and queerness and everything. This book is so fantastic. So anyway, with that said, I would definitely highly recommend it because, like I said earlier, I rated it 4 stars. The next book on this list is called When We Were Monsters. This book is a YA contemporary thriller following two main characters, and basically they're part of a group of like these highly intelligent students who are spending like the next 16 days or something at an eccentric professor's house. I don't know. I didn't like this book, let me be frank. I rated it 3 stars because this book is supposed to be like a high-stakes contemporary thriller, and it did not feel like that at all because the stakes were so incredibly low. And this is a spoiler because I don't care anymore. If the professor is supposed to be a fraud, how did she keep up this con for so long? You know what I mean? Like, that deception made no sense to me. Like, from a viewer and enjoyer of that Elizabeth Holmes, The Dropout TV show, like, I don't understand how she kept up this con and this fraud and this deception for so long without anybody figuring it out and like bringing it to the press or something if she's supposedly like so famous. Also, speaking of the story itself, I think that the story would have been stronger if it had had multiple character perspectives besides just the two of them. Like, I enjoyed the characters themselves, but I think the side characters deserved more development, and the romance that happened between the two perspectives that we did have, frankly, I didn't really care for it. I don't know, second chance romance or like exes to lovers or whatever isn't really my vibe. They're not completely like my least favorite tropes or whatever because we've already discussed those, but like, I don't know. I think the story would have been stronger in literally so many other elements because it felt so character driven instead of feeling like plot driven, because thrillers are supposed to be plot driven, right? And I've read multiple like YA character driven contemporaries by this author before, and I believe that this is her first thriller book. Anyway, you should go back to your roots, Jennifer. Anywho, I rated this book 3 stars, and I was frankly very disappointed by it. The last book on this list is called What Happened Then. This story is a middle-aged contemporary mystery following 2 cousins at a family reunion, where that family reunion is where they discover some family secrets. And I've always enjoyed a mystery-focused story on family secrets and family history and stuff like that because I always think it's fascinating, like Knives Out. You know what I mean? Anyway, this book is not a murder mystery. I don't know why I made a Knives Out reference. Maybe I've just been thinking of the poster of the latest Third movie. But anyway, all that to say, I rated this book 3 stars because it reminded me of a kid's book. And I know you're going to say, it is a kid's book. It is literally middle grade. I am not the age target audience for this book. But I've read so many, like, better middle grade mystery books. And that's the point that I'm trying to make. Because I liked the plot and the characters and the cousin dynamic and everything. However, I just solved the mystery or like parts of it before the characters did. And that felt annoying to me, which is why I rated it 3 stars. But again, I'm not the target audience for this, so I can't quite complain about this truly. So anyway, I rated this book 3 stars, so take that as you will. So in conclusion, I feel as if nobody really cares about the minutia of how I really do my recent reads videos, because frankly, my recent reads videos are oftentimes the least viewed out of all of my videos, especially lately with all of the reading vlogs that I've been doing when I talk about like Calabasas and paper towns and everything. So anyway, in conclusion, if you enjoyed this video, please don't hesitate to give it a big thumbs up. Comment down below the pineapple emoji if you made it all the way to the end of the video. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel if you're new, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!